Hey, David Brewster here with a new episode of Scales and Tales, and this is a harmonic minor scale workout, and I've featured many workouts and warm-ups and exercises here on my channel. Harmonic minor and blues scale and pentatonic ideas, Aeolian and Lydian and all kinds of stuff. And I like working on exercises, workouts, and warm-ups like this. It boosts your technique, gets your fingers moving. It's a physical challenge, definitely something you can kind of sit there and just kind of whittle and kind of play through it until you can play it. And it gives you something to kind of push toward, or like a goal, and with your playing and your practice routine. So if this sounds like something you want to tackle, buckle up. Here we go. So this workout and this lesson is going to revolve around the key of A minor. So we're going to be using A harmonic minor right here. And the little kind of like fragment or scale, position we're going to investigate is right here. And that's A harmonic minor. So here's an image showing like the comparison between natural minor and harmonic minor, and there's only one note different. And notice like the note that's red, and that's the one that's changed, which is G sharp technically, right here. So there's the position we're going to start, and there was the scale that we're actually going to use in this workout. And what we're going to do is just basically reveal this little melodic kind of motif, this rhythmic kind of flowing, pattern. And it's in A harmonic minor, but it might be deceptive because we actually don't hit an A until the very last note. So your ear may not really, be able to decode what this is until the very end. But slowly we're going to basically do this. That's the motif right there. So we can play it really slow, we can play it really fast, but the important thing is you're playing it correctly. It's regardless of how slow or fast you're playing it. So right there you can see we're basically doing this E and F and then moving to a lower D note, and that E and F is going to be repeated over and over and over. So I definitely remember when I sat down and wrote this, I was like... And then I was like, well, what if we take that D and then go up? And that's where the entire idea started, right there. And then I thought, well, what if we do the D again? And then we go lower, maybe to that B note. And then the next thing I knew, I was like, okay, and then... And then instead of going to that lower, that B right there, I wanted to move higher to that G sharp right there. And that's where I came up with that little kind of pattern or motif. And then finally right there at the end is your final A right there. So I just played through that twice, right? That motif right there. And there's some interesting things happening with your fret hand. You're rolling, into and out of certain notes to kind of make those little jumps and leaps happen. And I just like the way that sounds. So that's the first step in learning the motif. And that's string group 1 right there. So that was string group 1, right? If you've been watching videos here on my channel, you can probably guess what we're going to do next. We're going to take that motif and flesh that out all over the fretboard. Different string groups, different octaves, different positions. And we're really going to flesh that puppy out. So there's string group 1, starting on that E. And unfortunately, we can't play this 2 octaves lower, starting way down here, because we don't have enough notes to complete that motif. So string group 2 is actually going to start right here, on this E, right there on the 7th fret on the A string. And we're going to do the exact same thing, but an octave lower, right? Which is right there. might tell a couple things have changed, right? We're finally using our third finger now, to grab that B note right there, right? There's your lower B, and then do it again. And right there, I'm stretching up on the A string to grab that G sharp. Instead of reaching back there on the D, I'm stretching and including it there on the A string, just to kind of keep that all in, one area like that. Right. So that's string group 2 right there. So now we're going to basically rework that in the same octave, but a different string group. So we started here, right? So let's take that. We're going to actually start down here on the D string now. It's the same octave, just a different group of strings, and do the same thing right here. Right? The same thing we did here. The same thing we did here. But now it's way down here. And it's a little stretchier down here, right? Because the frets are spaced further apart, so it's right here. Bigger stretch to reach that G sharp there. Now, just to kind of flesh this out in another position, let's take that, move it up an octave, and do the same thing on the same string group, but now we've got this. That's the same thing. Just relocated an octave higher right there. Okay, so we had string group 1, string group 2 right there, and then string group 3 had 2 different locations that we moved, right? So now we're ready for string group 4, and I'm not going to lie, string group 4 and the variation I'm going to follow this with are 2 of the hardest in this whole lesson, as far as physically challenging and stretchy. The last one's really brutal for sure. So we had this, for string group 1. Let's rework that. We're going to start on the B string right here, and now we've got this. Okay. Definitely stretchier. You can see we've got this, which this is all nice and close together in the beginning. Right. Then we're reaching over on the D string to grab that B note with your pinky. So that's a big stretch, kind of out of form right there. Also reaching up and grabbing that G sharp with your pinky on the 9th fret. So we've got 2, pinky reaches or stretches there. Like that. Then we can take that idea and move it up an octave just like we did with string group 3, and we can rework it way up here. So that was the first version of string group 4, right? Now the variation is brutal, I'm not going to lie, because now we're going to basically not use our index finger except for these lower 2 notes we're going to find right there. So now we're actually going to start this with your middle finger, like this. And that's really weird because we're not using your index until we reach down and grab that lower B. So that's going to feel really funky if you haven't done stuff like that before, because you're leading with your middle finger. And it does seem like a lot of guitarists' index finger is kind of their comfort finger, almost like a security blanket or something. And as soon as you take it away, they freak out, where they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not using my first finger? And right there you can see we're not using it until you grab that B note. So your index is really just dancing between that B and that G sharp there, right? Now this might just seem like some kind of weird finger torture, which I guess it kind of is, but you might find yourself needing to play something like that where you're leading with something other than your index finger. And that's a great exercise to help you get started doing that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of finger strength and dexterity to make that happen. And then you can take that, move it up an octave, and do it way up here. Now, I'm not going to lie, that feels really weird, but it's a good workout, and you can definitely feel it after you play through that a few times. All right, that's going to wrap this episode of Scales and Tails with this harmonic minor scale workout. And definitely, like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a big fan of sitting around and playing exercises and warm-ups and workouts like this. Just challenging, my technique and boosting my technique at the same time. It's great for finger independence and building dexterity and strength and stamina and things while you're playing guitar. And, when you're not working on songs and other people's licks, I personally feel like this is the kind of stuff you should work on. Just these short, kind of motifs and these repeated, ideas. And you just drill them over and over and over. It's almost like doing calisthenics, like push-ups and sit-ups and stuff. But you're doing it with your guitar, picking and legato or string skipping or tapping or whatever you're working on. It definitely boosts your ability, your technique, and it's fun. It's challenging, kind of gives you like some goal setting and stuff like that you can do. And it's like, okay, I couldn't play this before, but now I can. So it really does kind of show you like, hey, I'm improving my ability or my technique. And I don't know, I guess this is just something I like to work on. I like to work on this with my students, and I wanted to share this idea here for viewers out there. Because definitely, just sitting around playing with this a few times or for an hour or so, you should definitely, wake up your hand and probably feel a difference in a short amount of time. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe and lay out lessons, and I'll be back before you know with more content and material. Thank you.